Okay, third part here, we are adding and subtracting fractions. And the main idea is with like denominators, you are going to combine the numerators. So the key when we're adding fractions is we need the denominators to be the same. So for example, if I gave you 1/4 plus 2/4, right? We see that our denominators, or the bottom number, are the same. They're both 4s, and our numerators are different. They don't have to be. The key is we just need the denominators to be the same. And if we thought about it as a picture, we could go back to that square. We could say, hey, if I took that square and shaded one box out of 4, and I took another square, that is not a very good square, but I'm going to roll with it, and I shaded 2 boxes out of the 4, well then pretty quickly you can see that if you put those two on top of each other, you are going to have a total of 3 shaded boxes. And that's the idea of adding and subtracting our fractions. As long as our pieces are the same, the denominators match, then we just have to combine the top numbers, or the numerators. So what's going to happen in this add and subtract piece is you are going to need to get like denominators. So I'm going to work my way through 3 right here, and I'm going to show you a couple of strategies that you can use. So first one I have, I'm just doing one of the problems that I can see. There's 4 parts to it, just so you've got a few that you can try at once. And first one I have right here is 1/12 plus 3/4. And here's the idea. I need my denominators to match. I've got a 12 and I've got a 4, and I need them to be the same. And one strategy you might be able to use is you might look at the smaller number and say, hey, 4, I can turn 4 into 12 by multiplying. And that's the key, you're going to have to multiply. And if I wanted to turn the 4 into 12, I would need to multiply by 3. 4 times 3 is 12. Whatever you do to the denominator of your fraction, you need to do to the numerator. Whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top. So now, an equivalent statement is going to be 1/12 plus 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 3 is 12. So now I've rewritten 3/4 as 9/12. These are the same amounts, just written with different numbers. They represent the same amount. So now if I want to add my fractions together, I keep the denominator all the way across. I'm still writing my answer out of 12 pieces. And now I'm going to combine the top. 1 plus 9 is 10. Now you might remember or see that the directions say to write in lowest terms. So I'm going to go back to that first skill we had and I'm going to ask myself, hey, 10, I can rewrite 10 as 2 times 5, and 12 I can also write as 2 times 6. And when I do that, sure enough, I've got a 2 on top, a 2 on bottom that cancel out, and I get a final simplified or lowest terms amount of 5/6. Now take note, when we're adding fractions, you can't cancel at the beginning because you need the common denominator. You have to wait until after you combine your fractions to then try and simplify down. So that's our first one right there. Let's take a look at a second one. Second one I have up here says 5/7 and 3/4. Now here's the deal. I look at my smallest number 4. I try to turn 4 into 7 and I can't do it. Because even if I just double it, I'm already at 8, which is too big. Now here's the deal for these problems. When the numbers are small, I like to just multiply them by each other. If the numbers were really big, I might try and find something in between. But since the numbers are small, here's what I'm going to do. I need the denominators to be the same. which means this side needs a 4, and this side needs a 7. Now both denominators are the same. They both have a 4, they both have a 7. Whatever you do to the denominator, you need to do to the numerator. So I've got 4's on one fraction and 7's on the other. So when I multiply those together, I now have a new fraction. And my new fraction is now going to be 5 times 4 is 20. 7 times 4 is 28. 3 times 7 is 21. 4 times 7 is 28. So now my denominators match. Now that my denominators match, I'm going to add straight across. So 20 plus 21. And I just keep the denominator of 28. 20 and 21 makes 41 over 28. Now, I might want to check to see if this fraction is going to simplify down at all. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to look at the smaller number, which is 28. And I'm going to recognize that 28 is 4 times 7. And I'm also going to recognize that that 4 I can break down into 2's. 2 times 2 times 7. So in other words, 28 is the same as 2 times 2 times 7. But I know 2 doesn't go into 41 because 41 is odd, so that doesn't work. And then I'm not sure about 7, but I grab a calculator and I punch it in, and I get a decimal, which means 7 doesn't go in. So in other words, none of these numbers, 2, 2, and 7, go into 41, which means this is as small as I can get. Continuing right along, we're going to look at one more, because I'm going to keep this under 10 minutes. My third one over here, I've got, we'll switch to red because why not, 3/8. We will subtract 1/6. Let me make sure I'm in frame. And so here's the deal. You might recognize that you could pick a smaller number, technically 24. But just for the sake of the previous example, I'm going to just multiply them by each other. Again, the numbers are small enough, so I see no reason not to do that. So I need to put 6's on this fraction, and I need to put 8's on this fraction. Again, my denominators now match. They both have a 6 and an 8. And I'm multiplying the first fraction by the same number, and I'm multiplying the second fraction by the same number. So going straight across, 3 times 6 is 18. 8 times 6 is 48. I'm going to subtract 1 times 8 is 8. 6 times 8 is 48. When I go to subtract my fractions, my denominator stays the same. Just like when we were adding, I'm now going to subtract straight across, so I've got 18 minus 8. I am now at 10 over 48. I'm going to look at that 10 and I'm going to say, guess what? That 10 is the same as 2 times 5. Okay? And so I'm going to look at my bottom fraction, 48. I'm going to realize that that is also even if I pull a 2 out, and then I might need a calculator to figure this out, but 48 divided by 2 gives me 24. Sure enough, I got the same number on top and on bottom. I can cancel those 2's, and I will have a final answer of 5 over 24. So we got some adding, we got some subtracting. Remember, you got to get a common denominator first. You got to combine. Then you can look at simplifying down to get the fraction into lowest terms.